if you think about the last stage of AI development will be like running entire organizations. Your job is going to be like the CEO, and the entire organization will be run with AI. But there's still a human overseeing all of the things that are going on.
All right. Welcome to the You Are Lawyer podcast. Steve Cunningham, how are you today?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm really well. Life is good. Things are going well. And so, Steve, you and I connected via LinkedIn, and I want to hear all about Simple Academy AI. Tell me all about it. What you do there?
Yeah, so we serve two different audiences. One audience are consultants who are looking to shift gears and get into AI, and we train them how to help organizations get their people to adopt AI so that they can work faster, solve business problems smarter, and then ultimately leading to higher performance and more profits in their business. And so, a lot of details underneath those things, but that's the gist of what we do.
Yeah. And so, how did you get connected there, or are you a founder?
Yeah, I'm the founder of the company.
Okay, cool. So, you're on the You Are Lawyer podcast because you are a law school graduate. Did you ever think that you were going to run a business? Was this anything that you had in mind when you were going to law school?
Well, I think so. I was called to the bar, and I actually practiced law for one full week. I think it's a record. No one has told me that they practiced law for a smaller amount of time. Did I think that I would ever start a business? I've always had an entrepreneurial streak in me. I was really into trading cards when I was as a kid, and I tried to start a business, and I got pushed out of a territory by some older man who, it was like a whole thing. It's like I learned like so many business lessons when I was like 9 years old. It was crazy. So yeah, I've always had an entrepreneurial bent, and I have always been an entrepreneur, except for that one week when I was a lawyer.
So, you got to tell me more details about that week. I mean, you were like, okay, I'm going to do this. Here I am. Let's go. And you get there and you're like, this is not for me. Like, what happened?
Yeah, it's probably less interesting than it sounds, but I'm from Canada originally, and there's an apprenticeship year called articling. So you basically go to work for the law firm for a year. So in between my second and third year of law school, I got a summer job, carrying the bag of a senior lawyer at a law firm. And I basically kind of flashed forward to, what if I spend the next 20 years of my life doing this so I can get to this place. And that really didn't excite me. And as I always say, this is painting the legal profession with way too broad of a brush, but it's enough true that I feel comfortable saying is like most of the lawyers that I met like really just hated their life, and they work really hard. So if I'm going to work that hard, I might as well do something I love and that has a bigger upside than being a lawyer, to be frank. And so that was the thought process that was going through my head. And ultimately, so at the time, my father was running a small signage company. And I said, I want to join the business. He's like, no, you don't. It's like, I do. I really do. I want to be an entrepreneur. And so he said, okay, here's the deal. If you graduate from law school, get called to the bar, and you still want to come into this business, then we can talk. So I said, fine, I'll finish it up. So I did. And the law firm that I was working at asked me to stick around because when you're an articling student, you got a real caseload, and it's kind of like being a first year associate. And so I said, I'm not coming back. And they said, well, can you please stick around for a week to just close out this file that you're working on? I said, sure, that I'll have a story to tell for the rest of my life. And so I was officially a lawyer for 1 week.
I love that. It's both really funny and very on brand for lawyers to be the one to be like, I'll finish it out. I'll go in and complete what I said I was going to do. That makes sense. Okay, so your father owned a sign shop, so it sounds like you've been around entrepreneurs your whole life.
Yeah, I've definitely been around entrepreneurship my entire life, so I'm sure that has a lot to do with my bent. I've also have a need to create in my life as well, so that kind of fuels the entrepreneurial fire, so to speak.
Yeah. So I'm enjoying this conversation because I am a creator. I've always been a creator. I've always been creative. There's pictures of me in high school and I'm like painting on my jeans and would wear them and people would ask me to make them for them, right? And I always just thought I was that quirky kid. I always just thought it was me. And then it was really hard for me to give myself permission to be creative, right? Once I had enough sponsors and ads and sales to replace my law firm salary, I was like, but can you do that? Right? I had to give myself permission. Like, you were in a law firm for 5 years, you can do something else. And it was really hard. Did did you have any moment like that where you were like, you've only been doing this for a couple of days, you have to stick it out? Or were you like, nope, I've seen all I needed to see, it's time to go?
So yeah, I was lucky enough to see the writing on the wall before I got in, and before I, I don't know what your personal situation was like, but I didn't have a mortgage. It wasn't married, didn't have kids. Like, so it was like I could always go back. Right? There wasn't like the door was closed. So for me, it was a pretty easy and straightforward decision. I would go and see how it went, and if it went horribly, then I would go back.
I love that. I am chasing that freedom of flexibility and options right now. And I love that that is your life. I have a 4 year old and I hope she grows up with that same kind of audacity, like from watching me. Because it sounds like you were like, no, the exception was going to law school. I am right now doing what I was always supposed to do. So I think that's kind of cool. Let's talk a little bit about Simple. AI, the big buzz right now. And a lot of people don't know what it is. Most people don't realize they've been using AI driven platforms or technology for years, right? Why are you doing this? What do you love about it?
Well, it we got into it not because I loved it, but because it was going to destroy our previous business. So the quick story there was, so I ran a company that summarized business books and personal development books. So if you got a business book or a personal development book on your nightstand that you never seem to get around to reading, like we'll summarize it for you in 15 minutes, and it's your way to kind of get the Cliffs Notes version of the book. And there's other companies that do that kind of stuff. When ChatGPT came out, realized very quickly that you can type into this message box, please give me a summary of insert book here, press enter, and out came a reasonable version of what we would have spent many hours creating. We realized that, at some point that was going to destroy our business. So we got into it, and I got into it not out of, interest or desire, but out of necessity. It's like, I need to understand, how can we use this if it's going to destroy our business? I better get there first. If we're going to need to adapt, let's adapt now, and let's not wait until it's an emergency. So we did. We figured out how to start using it inside of that business, which then just became a super fascinating journey for me to figure out what can you make these tools do, and the answer to that question is a lot. And so it was really fascinating to kind of just, and I have a creative bent in me, and these AI tools just allowed me to really dig into both the business side but also the creative side, because every single day we're creating new solutions for the clients that we serve. So it became an interest, but I really, and I love what we're doing, and it fulfills like every, self-actualization need that I have and all of that good stuff. But it wasn't why we started it.
Yeah. Okay. But I think that that is pretty cool. You have an existing company, new technology is coming, it's going to eventually replace it. So you kind of lean into it. I was just reading a book and they were talking about how one of the big brewing companies, they were making beer and producing it. And then like prohibition came out and they started making like sodas. And so they were like, okay, how do we continue to exist? We're just not going to do what we were doing before. And so I think that that's pretty cool that you pivoted, right? That you were able to see that and say, okay, we're not going to just wait and go extinct. We're going to lean into whatever the new thing is. And so with Simple Academy, it's a tool so that you can give AI skills and role certifications to companies, right? Or you're giving them to team members. So what does that look like? Do I contact you and say, hey, I have 3 virtual assistants. How can they use AI to become more productive?
Yeah, that's pretty close to what it is. So we go into a company and we say, who works for you? Give us the job titles of the people that are working for you. And then we create these customized tools that all of those folks can use it to make their day to day more efficient. So they're freeing up time. And then that gives them the freedom to go start to work on, whatever the big challenges that exists. So if you set quarterly goals for your team, they're typically working on things where the AI could be helpful there as well. And so we're freeing up time from the busy work, giving them more time for the higher order tasks, using AI in those higher order tasks. And ultimately, what we find is the productivity goes up, their ability to solve these what we call KPI challenges goes up, which means either they're making the company more money or they're decreasing the cost, and so the company ultimately makes more profit. So it's pretty straightforward formula, and it what we have found is that these tools just work if we can get people into using them. And so the real value that we bring is we simplify this whole process for folks so that, just a story from yesterday was somebody showed up to one of the training that one of our consultants was running, had never used ChatGPT before, and by the end of a really short training, because we give them the tools, they've created an AI policy for their company. So it's like somebody created the AI policy for their company, who previous to this workshop had never used AI before. So it's kind of it from the challenge is not the technology. The technology is amazing; it works. It's a behavior change challenge that we have really zeroed in on, and we make things simple, we make them fast, and we make them easy for folks to adopt. So that's really, our mission in this whole AI space.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a behavior change issue. I love that. When I was working in big law firms, I had to bill my time. So record my time in 6-minute increments for the week. It was really hard to grasp, but I still do that now. And now if I find myself, I don't record it with such like specificity, but if I find myself spending more than 8 hours a month on anything, I outsource it. Right. And so I'm like, I love this. How do I get to use your organization to come and help me? You find organizations that are hesitant to work with you, or no, because the people who are working with you are the ones who have decided, yes, they want this? Or do you guys kind of pitch yourself to say, hey, I could help you save time? Or is it kind of like a hybrid?
There's all sorts of different situations we find ourselves up against. Like some people still don't believe that it's true. So like this, I've heard lots of hype around this, but no one's ever shown me doing something productive. So there's some of that. Um, those people are just wrong, and we just have to show them like so it's interesting. Once we show them the AI doing something that they do in a day-to-day basis, that's when it really clicks for them. So we just take the time to say, hey, like, tell me about what you do, and we'll show you exactly how the AI could be useful. There are some people who are actively resistant to it because they're worried that they're going to be put out of work, and I think that's a healthy fear. And um, we have these 5 stages of AI psychological transformation that we came up with to describe how people go through this process, because it's a behavior change thing, which means people go through these stages. And the first one is resistance or active or indifference or active resistance. And then the second stage is fear. So they like the first thing they feel when they see the AI doing something that they previously have done, which I went through when I could do a book summary with AI, which is something that was my living. You get scared, and so but that's actually productive because it moves you into, okay, now I have to do something about it. So, but there are people that will try to resist, and then there are other folks who are concerned about privacy, rightly so. So there's all sorts of reasons why organizations do not use it yet, and we just have to work with them to figure out which flavor are you of, if you're resisting, which flavor is it, and how do we just gently guide you to, this is actually a good thing for your organization, is a good thing for your career. Because the thing that most people are afraid of is they're going to get work themselves out of a job, but if you are smart about it and you free yourself up to go solve problems that make the company more money, companies don't fire those kind of people. They promote them, and that'll always be true. So that's kind of the mindset we try to get people in.
Yeah. Okay. Let's jump ahead 10 years, 7 years. What will an organization miss or lack if they do not start using AI now, or the tools that you offer and train organizations to be able to do?
That's a tough one. So the AI is going to go through several stages. So the first one was chatbots, which is what most people understand right now as of AI. Then there's going to be reasoning AI, which is already out in the marketplace. OpenAI has released a reasoning model, which means it thinks through problems. Um, then there's going to be innovation, and then ultimately the AI is going to run an entire organization. So it's hard to really wrap your head around what does that mean. If I had to guess, use the time frame that you suggested, like most organizations are not going to look like anything like they look like today. It's hard to understand how and exactly what they will look like, but it'll sound like fear mongering, but I think it's like there's gonna be no choice but for people to adopt it, and they will adopt it or they'll be out of business. Like I don't know how you would compete in a world where everyone else is using these tools and you're not. So I think it's just going to be when do you adopt it, not if you adopt it. And the people who adopt it faster will have an advantage over the people who don't. But this is going to play out over time, and nothing's going to change overnight. Despite what you read on your social media every day, it's like, oh, the world changed overnight. Like, no, it did not. But tools are getting better, and ultimately they're going to be used by everybody. And so, over a longer time frame, it's kind of like that, boiling the frog metaphor. That's going to happen. It's going to happen over a time that's long enough that you won't notice it until it's too late. But the best advice I can give to folks is, because these tools are helpful in every area of your life. Just start using them, find ways for it to be helpful, and ultimately get rid of the busy work so you can focus on higher order issues. And that'll just be the cat and mouse game to play over the next several years. And if you do that now, you'll be in a good spot.
Yeah. I think that's really important because when I started to run my own business, that behavior change was the hardest shift for me. And that was when I actually started using more things like ChatGPT. Because actually, I hired a virtual assistant and she was like, I need more work because I use AI to outsource a lot of the tasks you give me. I was like, oh, wait, really? And I mean, that's important. And I think it's going to be good as like businesses start to show how much they use it and how it's not just taking over everything in a negative way. Because at the end of the day, you all want to you want to either solve a problem or make some money or do both. And yeah, if you see the company next to you solving problems and making more money, you're going to change. That's just the nature of it. That's the competition of the world that we live in. And also, even if you just see your friends, oh yeah, I'm using this recipe that I had AI create based off of these 5 ingredients in my fridge. You're gonna want to do it too, right? Like you're going to be curious. You're going to lean into it. So I got excited hearing you say that it's going to look completely different, but also I've always worked myself out of a job. I've always created a job and then left with a manual. And I'm like, here, once I have no more challenges, I'm over it. So the thought that AI is going to do that is kind of exciting to me. So,
Yeah, I think so. Like, to maybe answer your question more directly, what it's going to like, so you mentioned an assistant that you have, a virtual assistant. It's going to look like, okay, here are all the tasks I need to run a business. I'm going to automate as much of it as I can with AI, and that'll get easier and easier over time. So today, if you try to automate everything in your business, it's not going to work. Some things will be automated, some things will not. A lot of those things you can then hand off to your VA to say, okay, like you're going to babysit the AI and go do this, and here's how that'll work. And over time, you'll continuously drive things down to your VA, who will drive things down to the AI, and that'll just get easier and easier over time. So you can imagine in the future where the marketing campaigns will be done automatically by AI, and they'll get sent out, and they will go like, and so it'll almost be like, if you think about the last stage of AI development will be like running entire organizations. Your job is going to be like the CEO, and the entire organization will be run with AI. But there's still a human overseeing all of the things that are going on. So it's almost like the only thing that will exist whenever this gets done advancing will be a bunch of CEOs running organizations. And like, who knows, like what does that look like? I have no idea, but that's ultimately the trajectory that we're on.
I'm with it. I was a guest on the show earlier today, and I just told them, like, you are your own boss. You have so much autonomy that you don't even think about. You are your own boss. So, yeah, just the world full of CEOs running their own thing. That's exciting. I mean, I can't imagine what it'll be like, but also I didn't grow up with a cell phone. And now that's everywhere, and I adapted to that too, so it's fine. Um,
Yes, you're gonna do fine.
so, Steve, I always ask every guest the same question, and that question is: even though you only used your law degree for a week, you still have the education and the training that comes with you everywhere. What would
Mhm.
you say to anyone interested in taking risk or changing careers in the world?
The law degree gave me a lot of skills. Like I obviously don't know. I have not been able to run an A/B test of like, well, how would I have been without these skills that I had spent 3 years developing? But I think it gave me the ability to analyze a lot of information quickly because, as you probably know or you've experienced, you go to they assign you a whole bunch of reading. You have to read it and summarize it and be ready to talk in class the next day because they're going to pick on somebody. And if it's your day, you don't want to be embarrassed in front of all your new law school friends. So it gave me a critical eye to really summarize information. So I think there are a lot of skills that I was able to carry through into the business world. But I think just in general, my advice to folks, especially as we get into this AI space, there's going to be so much opportunity for uh, for everybody to reimagine, how they add value to the world. And if you can start working on that now, while you still have whatever cushion that you have, the job that you have, the business that you have, think about what you would like to do next. Carve out some time to start working on those things, and yeah, the best advice I have is like get to work, start doing the thing that you want to do, and ultimately you'll find your way.
Yeah, I love that. A little just one off question. Are there platforms now that you can say summarize my inbox and it'll tell you the stuff you need to like respond to or not?
There are email platforms that will start to do that kind of stuff. So I use a tool called Superhuman, which I actually don't use the AI bit on, but I know that it will like triage your inbox
Yeah.
in that fashion. So yeah, I think for sure that's one of the things that, because everybody's working on this, right? So like all the email providers are going to figure out like how do we use AI to make your life easier, and they'll
Yeah.
start responding to emails for you. But I don't use one, so I can't give you a good
Yeah.
recommendation.
Well, I am looking forward to the day when that is put together because right now it's not working. It's not working at all.
Yeah,
All right.
I do the squint test. So I open my inbox and it fills with all of these things, and I squint and like, what do I need to respond to? Hopefully, nothing. But
Right.
yeah, I get you. I feel your pain.
Most of the stuff I don't respond to, but I do take inspiration from the subject lines. I'm like, I could open that. And then I take the subject line and make it a YouTube video. All right,
Yeah.
Steve. Well, thank you so much. Would you tell everyone where they can find your business? What's your website?
Yeah, go over to simpleconsultants.ai and you'll find all sorts of fun AI resources there for you. And we would love to see you there.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for listening. Bye.